Welcome back to the NBA Elite Entries presented by PrizePicks. I'm Dan Titus, fantasy and betting analyst here at the Action Network, and I'm joined with my boy, C.J. Curry, who's also a betting expert and resident expert of all things PrizePicks. What's up, dude? How's your Wednesday going?
Doing great. Just keeping an eye out on all of this crazy NBA news. Seems like just when you have everything figured out, you got a game plan, some new piece of injury news or illness news in this case rolls out, kind of knocks you off track. So definitely going to stay on top of the late breaking news and try to plan accordingly.
Yeah, that's the best thing you can do in this climate, right? Like, we got the notifications on. If you don't already, make sure that you tag in that Fantasy Labs notifications, man, because they're pumping out all the latest information for all the COVID and injury news that you need to know before making these selections. But for those that aren't familiar with PrizePicks, it is the easiest way to do daily and play daily fantasy. You pick 2 to 5 players and you just select over under on their projections, and you can win up to 10x on your entry. So if you haven't done so already, download PrizePicks app on your phone or go to prizepicks.com, and they will match your first deposit for up to $100 by using promo code ACTION10. That's ACTION 10. So, CJ, our first go wasn't the best. I went 0 for 2 out the gates. You were 1 for 1. Let's right the ship here. But I understand there's a pretty cool promo for PrizePicks tonight. So can you tell the folks a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so like we talked about last Wednesday, they're doing a 12 Days of Picksmas over on PrizePicks. Basically, what that means to you is that every single day, PrizePicks is rolling out some type of unique, interesting promo, trying to spice things up here for the holidays. So today's is called the Merry Madness promo. We're on day 9 of their 12 Days of Picksmas. And basically, it's a reward for you playing your NBA entries. They want you to go heavy on just purely NBA entries. So this can't be mixed with NFL or college football or any of the other offerings that are up on PrizePicks. This has to be NBA only. You play $500 worth of entries, you get $200 in promo credits back. This doesn't have to be just one entry for $500. You could have 5 or 10 entries that are cumulative that add up to $500, and basically you'll get $200 back in promo. But if you're not a high roller, which not everyone is, let's be honest, most of us are casual bettors, you can play $250, get $75 back. $100 will get you $25 back in promo credits. And last but not least, if you pay $25, they're going to give you $5 back in promo credits. Again, you just have to have NBA entries, can't mix in any other sports, and you lock those in, and they're giving you a little bit of money back as promo funds. So thank you, PrizePicks, for this great promo.
Yeah, I'll definitely take some free money there. Not really free, but, hey, I'll take a little bit more if it's a bad night. Hey, we get a little something back, right? But it's not going to be a bad night. It's going to be a great night. CJ and I are going to go through our 2 best picks for tonight's slate. We got 5 games on deck. And let's get into it, man. So the Rockets and the Bucks, they have the highest game total of the slate at 224.5. Minus the Rockets and the Bucks game, though, all of these games are under a 7-point total, 7-point spread. So, I think we should have pretty relatively competitive games here. So that's a good thing. To start us out on our picks here. But I'll kick it off to you, man. What player are you liking first for your elite entry?
Well, oddly enough, interestingly enough, the last time we did this show, the Orlando Magic and Atlanta Hawks took the court, and I'm going right back to that game. They're playing each other again. Last time I ended up taking Trae Young to make some 3-pointers. Didn't quite work out. But this time I'm going to go to his teammate, John Collins. John Collins, over 20.5 points versus the Orlando Magic for a number of reasons here. So obviously both teams have a lot of different players out. But John Collins is at 20.5 on PrizePicks. He's at 21.5 on most sports books out there. So we're saying 1 point of value here, a little bit of a value play over on PrizePicks. No Trae Young, no Clint Capella for the Atlanta Hawks. So the next guy in line is John Collins. So I like him to step up and be sort of that leading scorer for the Atlanta Hawks tonight. The Orlando Magic are also missing a ton of players on their side. We know Mo Bamba will not be in the lineup tonight. They're also going to probably be without Wendell Carter Jr. He's questionable right now, but he just hurt his knee like 1 or 2 games ago. I don't expect them to rush him back into the lineup. So basically the front court for Orlando is depleted. John Collins should have all of the opportunities he could possibly want. Now, in 2 previous matchups versus Orlando this season, Collins has actually covered 20.5 points, and that was with Capella, with Trae Young in the lineup. He scored 23 and 21 points versus Orlando, respectively. And Orlando's giving up over 23 points per game to opposing power forwards in the last 7 games. So they're bleeding points to the power forward position. And last but not least, the action projections have Collins going for about 19 points. In this case, with all of the injury news, with all of the COVID stuff going around, I'm going to have to fade the projections here and just go with historical data showing John Collins has had an ability to get the job done versus this poor Orlando Magic squad. So that's my first pick, John Collins over 20.5 points versus the Magic.
Yeah, man, I'm with you in fading projections today. The action projection tool actually for John Collins had him at 9.3 rebounds. I like the over here at 9.5 too as another play that if you want to get in on the John Collins action. As you said, Clint Capella not being in the lineup, that's a huge gap for their front court. So you're going up against a depleted front court of the Orlando Magic. Sign me up for all of the John Collins tonight, man. I like that play a lot. Nice. So similarly, as I said, I was fading the action projection tools. I'm going with Tyrese Halliburton over 17.5 points versus the Clippers here. And to back a couple of my fellow action experts in Roberto and Joe DeLira, they were both on Tyrese Halliburton tonight. I like this mainly because he's just been cooking. He's averaging 24 points per game over his last 3 games. He went over 17.5 in his first matchup against the Clippers earlier this season. And we're targeting these teams that are really depleted in terms of either COVID or injury. And without De'Aaron Fox in the lineup, man, this is the Tyrese Halliburton show. And it's really only him and Harrison Barnes that can really provide any kind of offensive output for the Kings. So to me, this is a smash spot for him. Action projection tool only has him at 15.9. I think that's too low, just considering the recent history that he's had and the run that he's on. Going up against a Clippers team, they've been struggling over the last 3, but they don't really guard against the opposing point guards too well in their last several games, letting up 20.3 to opposing point guards over their last 7 games. So I think this is a good spot for Tyrese Halliburton to keep the foot on the gas and get buckets.
Yeah, he's been on a tear for the last 3 games, scoring like 20 or more. And like you said, who else is going to get buckets for Sacramento tonight? It's got to be him.
That's the hope. That's the play.
Yeah.
So who do you like for your second one?
Well, I'm going to stick with the big men, and I'm going for Robert Williams over 8.5 rebounds versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. In case you haven't heard, the Cavaliers are going to be without 2 of their starting bigs. Jarrett Allen not going to be in this game. Neither is rookie Evan Mobley. He's going to be missing this game as well. And now Kevin Love, the guy who was probably the first in line to take their spots in the starting lineup, is questionable with a foot injury. So we're not sure if Kevin Love's going to play or not as well. I'd imagine if Kevin Love does play, maybe he's limited. And going against Robert Williams, he's going to be a little bit undersized here. So I'm taking the over on the Time Lord, Robert Williams at 8.5 rebounds. Also worth mentioning, no Al Horford for Boston. Grant Williams also out. So some of those guys that collect those rebounds will not be around for Boston tonight. It's going to be Robert Williams and maybe a little bit of Enes Freedom off of the bench. But I think Robert Williams can absolutely dominate this matchup here.
Yeah, I was going to say Freedom definitely had a nice little game, but Robert Williams didn't play last game, so that definitely played a factor into that. So I think if Robert Williams is a go, that's the guy you got to back here for the front court, especially when if the Cleveland Cavaliers are without Mobley and Jarrett Allen.
Yeah, they said that Robert Williams, I guess, missed the last game due to personal reasons, so he should be healthy and good to go. So I'm not really worried about him, being limited in any way. Plus, the Cavaliers, they're giving up over 16 rebounds per game to opposing centers in the last 7 games. So this is definitely a plus rebound matchup for Williams here. If you don't like his rebounds, I think another good way to play Robert Williams is his fantasy points, something that's also kind of unique to PrizePicks. You can also play fantasy points instead of single stat player props. So that's another way that you can possibly go with Robert Williams. Cleveland giving up over 53 fantasy points per game to opposing centers in the last 7 games as well. And finally, the action projections have Robert Williams going for 8.1 rebounds, which is slightly less than 8.5, but still doable. It's still more than 8. So hopefully he finds that 9th rebound and we hit the over tonight.
Yeah, I like the play, man. It's going to be a lot of Robert Williams on the glass, Jason Tatum. I would expect him. It's interesting that him and Jason Tatum have the same rebounding line. So I feel pretty good about Time Lord getting over double digits here against a depleted front court. Love the angle, love the play. Hopefully we just get some Time Lord action, man. When he's on there, man, he always gets busy in a per 36, just a monster. So love Robert Williams from a fantasy perspective as well. So my second play, I'm going to go with Drew Holiday over 19.5 points versus the Rockets. When I'm looking at other books, I see his current market is sitting at 20.5. So similar to CJ's first call with John Collins, we're getting about a point advantage here. Over his last 5, though, 22 points per game. Over his last 5 games without Giannis in the lineup, he's averaging 25 points per game. The Rockets the Rockets are letting up 25 points to opposing point guards over their last 7 games. The Bucks do get Chris Middleton back, which should help their offense. But it is his first game back from that hyperextended knee injury, so he may not get a full workload against a Houston team that has been playing a lot better as of late. But Christian Wood is on the injury report, so if he's not ready to go, that could be certainly something that impacts this game script, as the Bucks are currently 9.5-point favorites. But all that being said, I like Drew Holiday here. He did struggle against the Houston Rockets in their first matchup this season, but over the course of the last 5 times playing against the Houston Rockets, he's gone over 19.5 in 3 out of those 5 games, so 60% hit rate. So give me all the Drew, man. Without Giannis in the lineup, he's the one that's definitely facilitating that offense and getting those buckets. So like Drew Holiday here.
Yeah, I think another good pivot play if you want to take Drew Holiday in a different prop is considering the over on 1.5 3-point makes as well. I believe the Houston Rockets are giving up like 4 to 5 3-point makes to point guards over their last 7 games. So if you like Drew Holiday to cover his points prop, then I think there's a pretty high probability, some correlation that maybe he hits 2 3-pointers tonight against Houston as well.
Yeah, after dropping 40 against the Pelicans, man, you got to feel like he's got the hot stroke, coming into this matchup. So wouldn't be surprised if he was launching a little bit from 3-point land as well. All right, so those will be our plays for tonight. We got CJ going with John Collins over
20.5 points versus Orlando.
We got John Collins going over 20.5 points versus Orlando. We got Robert Williams going over 8.5 rebounds versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. I got Tyrese Halliburton going over 17.5 points versus the Clippers, and Drew Holiday going over 19.5 points